What's up again, everybody? Hope everybody had a lovely weekend. You're watching another episode of the Bodacious Rant with Bern and Rye. And unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to another show for now. At least, yeah, like I said, for now, because Season 2 should be coming hopefully in the next year or so. But it is House of the Dragon, Episode 10, aka Season 1 finale. And, man, it was quite the cliffhanger to hang on, or to end on, I'm sorry. I guess pun intended. So before we get started, guys, this is a spoiler episode, so do not forget to watch the episode first and join in, or else if you don't care, then cool, but that's just unsportsmanlike. And as always, guys, give us a like, ring the bell, and of course press subscribe, because we always appreciate the support and growing the Ranted community. So yeah, but let's get started, shall we? So again, this episode, it kind of almost felt like 9 and 10 are like one long episode, just separated, you know, the way it flowed. And I really liked that aspect, that it just took took place right after that, where Rhaenys made her way to Dragonstone, let Rhaenyra and Daemon say, hey, your dad's dead, and you are no longer queen, so mazel tov, I guess. Oh man, but that birthing's, well, I guess the stillborn scene, I don't know what necessarily you would call it. This was a very just gut-wrenching, it ended on a gut-wrenching note, and it ended on one. But we'll talk about that in a little bit, but man, it was bad. It was kind of, I think it was worse than, what was
Emma's,
Rhaenyra? No, I was thinking Rhaenyra. Is it
Lena?
Is it Lena? I thought it was,
Who are you thinking of? Like what?
well, Daemon's first wife.
Oh yeah, Lena.
It was Lena. Okay, because I swear, it doesn't matter. But yeah, when she just couldn't give birth, this was, I think, the worst one so far. Where it's just, you know, she just is not refusing help and stuff. It was just a hard scene to watch, and her just pulling it out herself. I was like, oh god, that was just horrifying. I felt it was just a sad note to begin the episode on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that was when I texted you. You know, I chose the wrong time to eat.
Oh, that's when you did it. Oh,
this was the scene. I was eating food and watching this. Like, I knew better than to eat anything while watching it. Anything related to Game of Thrones. Like, there's never a right time to do it. So yeah, it was all bad. It was bad for me watching this episode, but you know, not nearly as bad as what Rhaenyra, you know, went through, where, yeah, she's getting this news that, one, her father's dead, and two, the throne has been usurped by Aegon and the Greens. So it's like, wow, like, all this bad news is coming in at once from Rhaenys. And it seems like that, I don't know if that was the direct cause of the stillbirth. It seemed like it definitely, like, didn't help, you know, like, that all that just happened in very quick sequence. What was your kind of read on that? Do you think like that like the stress of like hearing that news is what caused it, or do you think it was like something that was already probably going to happen regardless of, you know, the conversation that was just had?
I mean, I know this is a fictional show, but I would like to think they would have some sort of realism to it. I don't know if that can cause a stillborn / birth to happen like that, but at the same time, when you are at a certain stage, of pregnancy, you definitely don't want to be. You want to create as little stress as possible for the mom. So,
yeah,
I think it's a combination of that, but also, again, I think she's already had 2 kids with Daemon. I think maybe her body is just kind of. It was that point of like you can't support this anymore, and the stress, I think, was the thing to initiate that. You know what I mean? So it was a direct cause, but not necessarily. Just because, again, I feel like you can only have like an incestuous like life, like I don't know. It's just I don't know the right way to put it, but I feel like there's only so much the body can take from like doing that much with similar genes, that it's just gonna be like, okay, we can't function like this anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That was also part of it too, because it is, you know, a bit of an incestuous relationship that you know, that's, you know, the reason for this baby. You know, those pregnancies don't tend to end in, you know, a great way. Either it's like stillborn, or, you know, the child that is born with a lot of defects. So, you know, there's a lot of different like factors at play here, I think, more than just, you know, the conversation that was had. But yeah, I'm sure the stress sort of just sped it up, maybe.
Yeah, and it was a bummer too, just because she had a very touching moment with her son Luke. That he's very. It's quite the opposite of. It's funny because Jaehaerys and Luke, they're the mirror version of Aegon and Aemond. Aegon doesn't really want the throne. He's a total fuck up by all standards. Jaehaerys, he's taking it very serious, where he's learning old Valyrian. He's trying to accept responsibility. He's trying to prepare himself for when his mom's queen, not in like a very greedy way, but just a sense of duty. And Luke, he's kind of like Aemon. They both started out very weak, and he still kind of is. He hasn't really grown into himself. He's still a bit of a kid, where Aemon is a full grown fucking man. So it's just funny because Aemon really wants the throne. He's thirsting after it in probably the most negative way he should. And Luke is very self-aware. He's like, I shouldn't be the king of Driftmark. I get sick. I get seasick. How am I supposed to do this? Like, grandfather wanted, it should be one of, like, basically his cousin slash future wife. That should be the one to rule Driftmark. But I like that moment that she had. It's, again, very opposite of Alicent, too, where she calls her son an imbecile. And Rhaenyra is like, I'm going to teach you like my dad taught me to be ready. Like, I got your back. I'm going to be there for you like a mother should. And Alicent, again, she's always been there for her kids, but not in the most loving way. Like, it's almost been just almost like a formality,
Yeah, because I mean, when you look at the two different sets of kids, it makes sense to like why their mothers like treat them a certain way. But the Alicent and her kids, they were kind of basically forced upon her. We saw in that one scene, towards the beginning of the season where her and Viserys are in bed together, where she's just absent, like she doesn't feel like this is not love. This isn't something that she wants to do. So these kids are basically they're not bored of love. And Rhaenyra is the opposite of that. Where her and Lord Strong looked like they had a really good relationship, even though it was in secret. So these kids. She does love them, and that the brief moment we saw them all together as a family, it looked like a pretty like decent relationship that everybody had. So yeah, very different cases for Rhaenyra's kids and Alicent's kids, and that's sort of been the running theme of the show. Showing how these two women are having very different lives, and that forces them at an impasse.
Yeah, and I think that's why I liked about these last two episodes the most, is that they were just mirrors of each other, really seeing how each one has reacted to this whole thing. Allison definitely played the game, even though she's trying to be more independent. It's like it's a little too late. And Rhaenyra, she finally has decided, I'm going to take full control of this, especially when one of the Aaron Cargill, I looked up their last name, so I forgot which Eric it was or something like that.
I was gonna say, was it the one with the E? Is it or the one with the A? It's hard to tell. They're very identical.
It's a sick joke naming your your children essentially the same thing, just with different letters. What kind of sick fuckery is that?
I bet their parents even dressed them to look exactly the same too, just to mess with everybody.
I mean, they are both Kingsguard, so it's almost like a sick irony that they do that as twins. But I like that he brought Viserys' crown back, like as a sign of good faith. Like, here, I pledge my allegiance to you. I'm not. He's kind of over all the political drama that the Hightowers have caused, and that moment that Otto came to Dragonstone after Daemon, this whole episode has been trying to like prepare for war because he thinks, oh, they killed my brother, which is like, no, but I know you would want that because he's a little bit more of a warmonger than the rest of them. And Rhaenyra, she's been keeping it cool almost the whole time, which I was like, damn, like, this is not easy. You just lost your kid, you lost your dad, you lost your throne, and you're taking this like a champ. I very much respect it. And Otto, again, just coming off like the pompous bastard that he is, just saying, oh, like, we have terms for you, so we can end this nice and easy. It's like, oh, you motherfucker. But and it's almost that last moment of potential redemption for hers and Alicent's relationship, where he gives her that piece of paper that she tore from a book or something when they were kids, and she's like, okay, I'll fly to King's Landing by dragon. I'll give my terms then. But of course, fate had a very different way of looking at it. Before we get into it, anything else that popped out at you this episode, Bern?
No, I mean just that interaction with them at the at Dragonstone, where it's a mirror again to the second episode where there was a little bit of a conflict there, and we have two sides on that small bridge. Her riding in, on the dragon again. It was just very much a callback to the second episode, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, I wonder if that play that he made, Otto, with the torn page of the book, was that? Do you think that was that was him doing that, or do you think that was an actual thing that Allison sent him with?
I wouldn't be surprised if that was him, to be honest, just because he knows how to do it. He was gonna lure her in anyways, and that was I think he knew that was the one thing to do it. Him and Lord Laris, Strong, they've been the two spiders in this whole episode, in this whole show so far. So I'm sure Laris found out about it, gave him that piece of paper. Even though we haven't seen it, there's a lot of stuff that happens off screen, but it still works. I wouldn't consider it a plot hole necessarily, but yeah, I think it's all just a play. I think he's going to try and lure her in, or at least give up something so he could try and win. That's all it is for him. He's initiated this Game of Thrones regardless. So I think that was definitely a ploy for sure. I mean, what were your thoughts on it? Did you think it was a ploy, or do you think maybe Allison said, these are my terms, give her this, maybe we can make her try and keep her calm kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. The only reason I would say that it was probably an actual thing from Allison is because I don't know how Otto would have found out about the page itself, of her their sort of connection together. So I think maybe that was probably a play from Allison to sort of try to appeal to their old friendship that they had. But again, either way, it still comes off as very scummy, because after what they did was essentially they usurped the throne, and now they're going to try to play to her better natures to be let's not prevent a war. Remember when we were friends when we were younger? It's either way, it's still very snake-like. So they're all in the wrong regardless.
It's the ultimate form of gaslighting in Game of Thrones, really, if you want to think about it. I mean, just real quick, why would you think Rhaenyra's in the wrong? Or you mean Alicent and Otto were in the wrong? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, wait, did I say Rhaenyra? I meant Otto and Alicent,
That's okay, because when you said they're all, I was like, huh, here's the thing, how are Rhaenyra and Daemon that fall for this? I just wanted to clarify, because if you had another point, I was like, interesting.
Oh,
I just wanted to see if I was going to agree with you or not.
If I misspoke, then that's my bad. No, very much Alicent and Otto for trying to, one, they usurped the throne, and two, now they're trying to appeal to Rhaenyra's better nature because of their friendship that they had as a kid. So it's no, y'all in the wrong for that. Don't do that.
Yeah, they're definitely both. Okay, I just wanted, like I said, I just want to clarify before I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? You fool. But no, I get you.
Team Green for the win, they were out there making money moves, and Rhaenyra, she just sat back and, let it all happen. She should have been there, and she wasn't, so, it's all her fault.
I hate to say it, I'm sure there are people who think that way, but I'm not going to agree with that.
I'd be very curious to talk to someone who's very much Team Green,
Oh, I'm sure there's a small minority because they pity Alicent and all that shit, but she's kind of far beyond that point. So is Otto. I don't feel bad for them at all. And even though it's they're very much in the right, I like that this whole episode kind of broke down the future of season 2, just the Dance of Dragons in general, where okay, yes, we do have more dragons than they do. We have a couple wild dragons living on the Dragonstone that we can essentially try and tame. A couple dragons that are unclaimed. It's but that's great. But at the same time, they have Vhagar, the biggest dragon of them all, and they do have a couple other ones. And again, we don't know the allegiances of the Ascended Kingdoms are very much in the air. Even though some of them were kind of forced last episode. It sounds like Stark is definitely going to be the one true house to really serve them, because I wouldn't be surprised the way she put that River Run, very much like Walder in the future, is very fickle and very easily persuaded by money or promise of something. And Baratheon, which I'll get to in a second, again, that was a toss-up too. So I think it's going to be House Stark and Targaryen again in the war going forward, because I haven't read the book, so that's my gut telling me right now.
Mm-hmm. And it is interesting to see like how that will play out. Which sort of houses fall in line with Rhaenyra and her force, her forces. That I did find that like it was very interesting, like way that it all played out. With her, waiting to see like who's gonna be like truly allegiant, towards her, and it's funny how that's like sort of frustrating Daemon, who's sort of like very ready to like go to war right now, and Rhaenyra's playing it. She's for her part, she's playing it really smart. She's like, yo, we don't have enough forces. Like Daemon even says early, they don't have enough forces for like an invasion to like sort of like actually engage in warfare. But yet when she's like, all right, let's wait, let's see who's on our side, he gets frustrated and like chokes her out in front of the fireplace. That was such a like very interesting and like messed up sequence.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was partially just because she's telling him like we can't do it your way, but also like the Song of Ice and Fire, like this is something we got to prepare for. And it's like, Viserys never told you. It was almost like he's angry that it's just almost more proof that he was never ready. He was never going to be even thought of for ruling, because that's always been something passed down from like king to queen to king to essentially heir to the throne, and so on and so forth. So I think it was that realization, like, whatever. Like, she's definitely calling the shots right now, but it was just that was tough. Like, especially when it's like, dude, you're really gonna choke out the mother of your children, essentially, and also the queen. Like, but he's always kind of flown off the handle. Not that saying it's okay for abuse like that, but I'm just saying, he's always been unstable.
Yeah, I mean he's a very problematic character. Like again, it's funny how like the showrunners are like responding to a lot of like people's like responses online to Damon, how they really like him and then like they want to be with him, whatever. They're basically propping him up as like the character, like, oh, we want this guy. It's like, no, like this guy's a very problematic figure. Like we see, like he killed his first wife, and he runs around and just basically does whatever he wants at the expense of other people. So it's like Damon's not a good dude, but he's on the right side, so we tend to give him a little bit of leeway, just like Viserys did.
Yeah, I mean, again, because he does have his honorable moments, but I'm still like, Daemon is not a good person by any standards. He does have a sense of honor and loyalty, but it's like, he's still a fucked up person. He did kill his wife by crippling her and smashing her head in. So I don't know. But there are people again who say that Homelander from The Boys is a misunderstood person. So society has just lost its mind. But anyways, this is easily the best thing I've seen on Game of Thrones since maybe Battle of the Bastards, where Luke does make his way to Storm's End, which is Baratheon's kingdom. But I also, looking up what happens, that should have been a foreshadowing of like, holy shit, I know what's gonna happen. But as soon as he lands in Storm's End, there's rain and lightning and thunder all over the place. You see Vhagar outside the castle. It's like, oh shit, god damn it, he's already there. And Baratheon, being the prick that he is, because Aemon already won him over. But it makes sense why. Because, like, he's promised to marry one of my daughters. He can, whatever other child, like, whatever guys children have, can marry them too. What do you have? It's like, fuck. He's already been betrothed too, which, god damn it, that sucks. But Baratheon had a point, even though he was a dick about it. But,
yeah, dude, never trust a Baratheon. Like they're just all bad. They don't keep to their oaths. They just do whatever they feel like. So it's like, I've never been a Baratheon fan.
No, I did like the actor for Robert though in the first Game of Thrones. It's like, it's the guy from he was Fred Flintstone and he was in Knight's Tale, so he's a good actor. But
okay,
man,
Bobby B gets a pass.
But the rest of that was crazy, where Aemon just shows off his blue eye because he just put a jewel in there like a royal one-eyed person would, I think. And just threatening his nephew, man. He's just such a dick. But I've never been so scared of a show in a while than this moment where he's flying through the storm, and because you don't see Vhagar anywhere, so it's like, oh, okay, this is not good. We gotta go. And he does try and get out of there, but Arax, his dragon, which reminded me very much of Drogon. With like the spikes.
Oh yeah, the scaling in the back of the neck.
Like an ancestor, yeah, like that kind of dragon, like ancestor to Drogon and his brothers. he's such a small dragon. He is very agile, but when you see Vhagar just flying above him, it's like a killer whale versus like a seal. Like there's no way they're gonna survive this. And I had hope for a second when he's like dodging him and stuff, but as soon as Arax, you know, like blew a fire at Vhagar, and he's like, no, he's like, listen, like you're serving me, Arax. Again, it's just saying the dragons at a certain point that have never seen combat, they don't know how to react to each other like that. In that essence, he was just trying to defend himself, but they just couldn't control him. And man, that shot of him like in the heavens, essentially, just that out of the clearing of the storm, and Vhagar completely just, goddamn, in one fucking bite. He is the biggest dragon of them all, so it makes sense. But I was like, damn, and you didn't even finish it. You just let pieces of him flying around, like, oh man. And that's something I don't think even Aemon wanted to do that. He hated his nephews and stuff, but he didn't want to start that at a certain point. He was just trying to taunt him and stuff, or basically take his eye. So it was just the look on his face. That actor does a great job for Aemon. He knew he fucked up. And it's like, yeah, you guys are just... He thought he was ready for the throne. I think that was a wake-up call to him. He's like, maybe I'm not as ready as I thought. But I don't know. We'll have to see what his reaction next season. But, man, I don't know. Like I said, I got scared with that episode, with that part. It was so well done.
Yeah, I mean, even just starting off, when he rides into Storm's End, where it's like, very stormy, and we see, Vhagar in the background with, the rain and the lightning, and very reminiscent of like the T-Rex scene in the first Jurassic Park. And it just gave me those kind of vibes, maybe a little bit of like Godzilla as well, just because that thing's so massive, But yeah, the whole situation just seemed like it was like a bullying aspect gone like way too far, like because basically, these dragons are loaded guns, but these guns have personality and they have their own thoughts, and we see that, these two riders, they can lose control of their dragons. Like they both at one point say, like Carax is like, no, like listen to me, and he's even Aemon is even telling Vhagar like, hey, Vhagar, you serve me, like stop acting of your own will. Like they're creatures still, and they have their own personalities, and they this fight between Aemon and Luke. It's like, yeah, like you guys have these dragons too. Now they're in a fight as well. So when they're retaliating against each other, it's like, nope, this has gone completely out of hand. So yeah, at that point when Vhagar eats Luke and chomps Carax. Is that Carax or
Arax, just keep it. I mean, it's supposed to be the way it's spelled is like Arax, but it's Arax. That's fine.
Mm-hmm. When he chomps like basically him in half, like with little problems, like yeah, like that's it. There's no turning back anymore. Like if the whole usurping didn't cause the the war, like this is definitely gonna be the thing that sets everyone over the edge. So yeah, it sucks for Luke. Like poor kid. Like he wanted him and his brother wanted to do something for their mom, but man, like he was the wrong person to go to the wrong place. Like it just did not work out well for anybody there.
Yeah, had it been maybe Rhaenys or had it been Rhaenys or somebody, I think they would have survived because he has no beef with her. But if it was Jacaerys, he would have died too. Because, I mean, it sucks. I had to be the younger one to go, but that's just fate for this, And then the look on Rhaenyra's face at the end, I don't think there's gonna be any terms anymore. That's it. You killed. Yeah, my son may have taken your son's eye, but you killed him. So you guys are dead to us, and the war has begun. Mm-hmm. So I'm very curious to see what happened. And a couple things I do want to say. I love their little table in Dragonstone, the one that they put the candles under and it really lit up. I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah, so cool.
And then there's that I think he was talking to a wild dragon. Like Daemon was singing his Valyrian song in that cavern, with the torch. I think that's what it was. Because it looked a lot like Vhagar, massive like him, but I don't think it was anybody's dragon. It was just something. It's one of those that's been nesting there on Dragonstone. So I think he's gonna try and tame those few to like add more to the arms and stuff. Just because he was already conscripting the dragon keepers because they're well accomplished soldiers too. He's just preparing for it, so yeah, it's going to be epic.
And I like how they finally broke it down for everybody, last episode of the season, but when they were talking about, their forces, and he was basically laying down how many dragons they had, who the riders were. Like, they have, 13 dragons, right, on their side to, 6, I believe. I remember the number exactly, but it's a significantly less number than the ones they had in terms of, which sides have dragons.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm 1,000% sure he said, "Oh, they only have 3 adult dragons. We have
Okay, only
6.
3.
We have 7, I think, because his Caraxes, Cyrax, the kids' dragons, 2 of them that aren't tamed yet, and then I don't think he's counting the other 3 wild ones. So yeah, maybe closer to 10, because he's like, yeah, we all have dragons essentially, and a couple that don't have riders yet, especially the wild ones. So it's like our dragons, while outnumbered, there's no problem. But after seeing what Vhagar did to Arax and Luke, it's like, fuck yeah, you guys need to rethink that.
Yeah, they got the big one on their side.
I mean, it's essentially like their version of Balerion and Drogon. So, it's or no, not Balerion. I think it's just Baelor.
Baelor. Yeah.
Yeah, Baelor the Black. So, yeah. Anything else that popped out at you this episode, or something you want to go over real quick before we finish up?
Not this episode in particular, but do you want to give final thoughts on the season as a whole? Unless you had something to say about this finale specifically.
No, I do. But since it is a season finale, yes, you're right. I will. Overall, it was a very strong season. I think I already like this one better than Game of Thrones so far, just because the Targaryens are easily the coolest family besides the Starks and Baratheons, Lannisters and stuff, the Cleganes. So it was a little slow in a couple episodes here and there. I didn't care for the time jumps too much in certain parts. I was like, oh man, I felt, especially when we lost Millie Alcock and Emily Carey.
Emily Carey, yeah.
Yeah, but again, we did get Olivia Cook as well as Emma Darcy, so it's a good trade-off. But I'm gonna give this season a 4 out of 5 rantings. Damn near perfect pilot season. That's all I'm gonna say, and it ended on such a great note. I think this is one of the best finales of any show I've seen recently. So yeah.
Nice. That's high praise. Yeah, I mean, I have to second your score there, 4 out of 5 for me also, for the very same reasons. The my biggest negatives were the time jumps, and I know that's sort of like a narrative thing that they sort of had to do. So it's like, I don't really fault them too much for it, because to get this story going, you can't really go at it 1 year at a time, because we'd be 10 seasons and nothing happened, so can't really do that. But the downside to that is that it is harder to get attached to certain other characters, and when those characters do die during the season, as we have seen with the strong guys, Lena, it's like we didn't really have too much emotional attachment to them, so their losses they didn't hit as much as other Game of Thrones characters have when they died. So that was a little bit of the negatives there. Some of the VFX early on, really good for Game of Thrones stuff, but after having seen Rings of Power, it's like some of the things here weren't as good, and a lot of the flight sequences weren't great. I will say though that this final episode, the flight sequence, at the end, was probably the best one I've seen in the entire, Game of Thrones series so far. They looked really good this last episode. So hopefully they keep that sort of standard up for, the next season when that comes out in a couple of years. But other than that, the story was really good. I didn't mind the pacing too much. Maybe because of the time jumps, I really wanted to spend as much time with these characters as I could, before we, lost them and, we moved on in the story. So, in terms of how this compares to the first season of Game of Thrones, I will say this one is better for sure. Season 1 to season 1, I think this one is off to a much stronger start, and I'm very invested in this story. So yeah, 4 out of 5. I'm really excited to see where this series goes.
Yeah, hopefully they can pump them out quickly, but not too quickly, so they don't sacrifice story and stuff. I want this to be good. So if they have to take a year, 2 years or so to make it, then fine. That's cool, if they just keep this standard up of storytelling. And the VFX, I think, if Disney Plus hasn't done it, hopefully Amazon kind of reminds the other streamers that Yeah, you guys need to step up the effects and stuff, especially the lighting. At least we could see everything, but that's also thanks to the lightning and stuff this episode. So, um, there's that. But, anyways, other than that, I really enjoyed this and I can't wait. Guys, everybody, what did you think of this episode and the show in general? Were you in love with it? Were you bored by it? We would love to know in the comments, so please feel free to do that. Like I said, guys, we still got some more stuff coming. We're entering the holiday movie season, so there's going to be some award contenders coming up and just a bunch of other movies kind of sprinkled in. So stay tuned for that, guys. And, of course, stay bodacious and keep on renting.
Absolutely, everybody. A lot of more interesting stuff to talk to, and if you've been following us on this one and She-Hulk stuff, jump on Andor because we're gonna have that show going forward, and people they need to watch that. That show deserves some eyes, So if you were happy with the quality of this show, there's another show that we can all jump on together, and we're gonna be talking about it. So until then, everybody, be good, be safe, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.